The giant corporation called We Charity has been secretly paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to Justin Trudeau's family, all while Trudeau himself was trying to steer hundreds of millions of tax dollars to We Charity in a bizarre and corrupt scheme. The news had been out there a week before about this weird scheme by Trudeau. There were obvious little lies. Did Trudeau call We or did he not? Who told them they had the deal? Their alibis weren't all straight. It was strange. Why would you ask a private company to run a government program off the books, beyond the reach of scrutiny, instead of the professional civil service with its audits and checks and balances and systems? That's what was going on. They wanted to parcel out nearly $1 billion to volunteers, which is weird in itself. You don't pay volunteers. So it's all very strange, and someone at We panicked, or maybe it was someone at the PMO who panicked. Really, the organizations are merged, we've since learned. So it was starting to look bad, and they just stopped it. Now, Canadaland has been investigating We for more than a year. It was good work, I admit, and you know it was good work because We threatened to sue them over it, but they never did sue. In fact, We, again, very weird, they hired, I think it was a retired judge to write some, almost like a ruling as if a lawsuit had happened. They just rented out a former judge and they paid him to denounce Canadaland, but they didn't actually sue and take Canadaland to a real court. They bought off someone powerful but retired to say, Canadaland is mean. Again, that's so weird and so cult-like in a way, isn't it? You can't insult the Kielburgers. They'll sue, but in the end they didn't sue. They just hired a big shot and pretended. So Canadaland was on the case. And then there was this $900 million scheme that just crumbled. And then just last week, there was this bizarre, extreme confessions by a former We staffer who was working in Kenya, talking about crimes and financial skullduggery, and the Kielburgers expecting total personal loyalty and silence, again, cult-like. And amongst the admissions, that We had hired a private investigator in Toronto to write a sneaky report about Jesse Brown, including about his wife and his children. Oh my God, like I say, creepy, bizarre, cult-like. I'm no fan of Jesse Brown, but what are you doing going after his kids? That's We. So pressure was building on We, the charity, between their schemes and scams and confessions and then the $900 million thing and this private investigator weirdness. Things were vibrating almost. And then, bam, look at this, pay dirt. Trudeau family paid hundreds of thousands by We organization charity, says it directly paid for some of Margaret Trudeau's speeches in error. Sure you did, guys. We says it paid $312,000 for 28 speaking events by Margaret Trudeau, the mother of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and $40,000 for 8 events with Alexandre Sacha Trudeau, the PM's brother. You know, they just kept making those payments in error 28 times. Could happen to anyone. I mean, paying $312,000 to the Prime Minister's mom, completely not a bribe, people, and sending Trudeau's wife and whole family on luxury trips to London just this spring. Didn't they learn anything about taking free trips from the Aga Khan and billionaire island in the Bahamas? But here's the strangest part. Canadaland was on the hunt, putting questions to We in advance, which is good practice journalistically and legally. So We Charity thought, how do we do an insider move here? Just like we hired a former judge to write a whitewash of them, how do they play their strengths, their corrupt inside connections? Well, they leaked the story with the bad news about themselves. They leaked it preemptively to the CBC, knowing that the CBC would spin it in the most positive way possible. And so they did. Look at this. See what they did here? They knew the news was coming out, so they just gave it to their PR firm that happens to be called the CBC. Oh, and the CBC did not disappoint. Here's Aaron Wary, the reporter at the CBC who used to actually write stories about Trudeau's socks. Remember him? So he said, one other odd thing about 2 of those episodes, the Aga Khan and We, is how you can trace them back to Trudeau's own unique life and status. Stephen Harper didn't have to worry about getting invited to the Aga Khan's island, and his mother and brother weren't celebrities. Yeah, stop lying, please, Aaron. Trudeau was actually not invited to those islands. Sophie Trudeau kept calling up and saying, can I come, can I come, can I come? Don't put this on the Aga Khan. But even if you take it at face value, Aaron Wary is arguing that it's not Trudeau's fault that he's just a moocher and a looter and a grifter and perhaps a thief. You see, he's the victim here because Ordinary people don't have the problems that the demigods amongst us do. You can't blame him. We can all learn from this. This is a teachable moment for all of us. Here's CBC's government comedians at their show This Hour Has 22 Minutes. Breaking! Conservative Party calls for a criminal investigation into why the Liberal Party's ratings are so high. That's comedy for you. That's government comedy for you. Is that what's really the news here? The Conservatives are jealous that Trudeau is amazing? Aren't comedians supposed to make jokes about the powerful? Isn't that what the King's Jester used to do? Oh, and moments later, this news broke. Bill Morneau, the finance minister, his daughter works with We. Oh, and again, the CBC was leaked the bad stuff to spin much friendlier than Canadaland. Bill Morneau has family ties to We Charity, did not steer clear of cabinet discussion of contracts. So 2 members of different ministers' families have ties to the charity. And in Morneau's case, 2 members of his family, one as a paid contract employee. So they're corrupt. I think they're all corrupt. The Liberals fired the 2 non-corrupt souls in the whole of cabinet, Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott, quit in solidarity with her. And, you know, nothing happened. Trudeau won re-election. That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.